Recipe for a body butter, 2 cups of melted virgin coconut oil, 1.5 cup of melted unrefined shea butter, 1 teaspoon of vitamin E mixed tocopherols, and 1 teaspoon of vitamin D3. Additionally, what I did is taking the coconut oil, put it in a double boiler, get it nice and warm, and then you infuse it with coffee and oatmeal. For the coffee, I took 3 tablespoons of freshly ground organic coffee, grinding it as finely as possible. And for the oats, I took old-fashioned oats, or you can take colloidal oatmeal that is finely ground oats too. Finally grinding them as fine as possible with the spice grinder, and you combine the melted heated coconut oil with the coffee and the oats. You leave it there for some hours, reheating from time to time, and the heat allows the coconut oil to soak the coffee and the oats, and also it kills the bacteria so that you don't grow anything in your body butter. Once you are ready to make the finished product, you strain the coconut oil in either a cheesecloth, or I had this milk bag. You squeeze as much as possible through it, because you of course don't want any particles in the finished product, but you want to get as much as possible of the coconut that you put in the first place. And then you combine the melted shea butter and the vitamin D3 and E. As far as I know, I have not found in literature any competition between the absorption of vitamin D3 and E through the skin. They're both absorbed through the skin. The E is also good for preservative, since it's an antioxidant. So you can add both. If it's summer, you could also add just the E and not the D3. But once everything is melted, it's not really the texture that you can whip it. So you want to put it in the refrigerator for as long as it takes to start getting solid around the edges. So here it's now getting, probably it's not showing, but it's getting solid around the edges. So that's the right texture to start whipping it, and not having to take a bunch of time to whip it in a fluffy texture that is what you want in your finished product. So I'm going to whip it and see if I can get it to the right texture within a short amount of time. It seems like it's gonna take a little bit of time, so I'm gonna stop the video and then restart it later to show how it comes out. Okay, the butter required more time in the refrigerator and more whipping, and it seems to be the right texture. Now it's kind of like dough. I don't know if it shows, but it's really sticky now. Now is the perfect time to finish the whipping. Okay, now I will transfer that to a container. In my experience, it gets the optimal texture the day after. Right now it will be a little bit too soft. You can use it, of course, but in the following days it becomes more fluffy and less liquid. But now it's the right time to transfer it without being too messy. You can probably cool it down more, but then you wouldn't be able to pour it into a container, and instead you would have to scoop it, which if you're using a small container can be a little bit of a pain. Except now it's liquid, still liquid enough. So I'm gonna get a jar. And of these two, I think 4 cups. So a jar like this. Okay, so that's the product. So what I like of these type of butter is that the shea butter makes the coconut oil of a fairly stable texture. Meanwhile, if you were to use just coconut oil, then the texture depends on the temperature. Since it melts at 72 degrees, so sometimes it will be liquid, sometimes it's solid, and also if you add something, such as the other vitamins, they will precipitate towards the bottom or stay at the top, depending. But this allows a very consistent texture throughout the batch, and it smells so good. It just smells incredible, something that you can eat. And if you want it to smell even better, you can add cocoa butter instead of shea butter, and it will smell, I mean, you can eat it, really. The addition of the infused coffee and oatmeal is, of course, optional, but it's really nice for the smell and for the antioxidants and the properties. If you want something thicker, you can add more shea butter and less coconut oil. I don't like to add too much shea butter because it will create a layer on the skin that prevents the uptake of oxygen, and the skin needs to uptake oxygen for skin renewal and healing. So I don't typically go for more than half and half at most, and I measure that in the melted state, otherwise it's kind of difficult to really measure, especially the shea butter that comes in a block. If you don't melt it, you don't really know what you're measuring. But anyway, I've been using these for about a month. I made a few tests before to get the right amount, and so I shared it because maybe somebody finds it useful, hopefully. Bye.